Welcome back, Shit Talkers. This is Daniel, and there's Logan, and we're two dads here. Just talking about everyday life, and yeah, this is two dads talking. Shh. So Logan, how you been, man?
Man, I'm right as rain, player. How about you?
Doing good, doing good. Just dude, last episode, actually got a lot of buzz from people in Michigan, a lot of
Uh-oh.
friends, but it's all good.
The Michigan militia came for you, did they?
Yeah, yep. And I just want to start off with the episode here a little bit, if this is okay. I want to clear something out from yesterday, yet last episode, because honestly, I've been back and forth with it, and after talking with people from friends and family in Michigan, kind of came to the realization, and it's like I thought about like what you said, be with the girl that you bring to the dance, how you said that.
Yeah,
But you also
the one you brought to the dance. Yeah, that's right.
great. But you also talked about how you were a Giants fan too, or you are a Giants fan too.
Right, through marriage, yes. Mm-hmm.
So conclusion with this whole thing is we all have two lungs.
Mm-hmm.
If I support both teams, I'm happy. And my wife even brought up about yesterday where it's like, don't give up the roots that you built, because we can bring both, we merge our traditions together into one thing, into one family. So that's all I have to say on the matter. And I'm wearing Red Wings. So just for what it's worth.
Well, I mean, I know when we initially spoke about this move was not just about sports for you.
No.
It was about bringing closure into your life on things that you were struggling with and didn't realize you were struggling with them, or that you needed closure on. Yeah. And so it got you looking at your upbringing and where you were brought up and how you were brought up and the environment in which you were brought up. And because of that, you felt like, at least how you explained to me initially, you felt like you maybe needed to change, not so much about the sports teams themselves, but just change your identity of who you are and why you and who you want to see, who you are presently, and who you would like to see yourself become in the future. Is how I initially heard it. So I don't think that, as much as we love our sports teams and live and die by them. I mean, I'm wearing a LeBron, sweatshirt thing today because I'm a big Lakers fan.
Were you a Mamba fan?
Excuse me?
Were you Mamba fan? Kobe?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've been a Lakers. I grew up during the Showtime era. So
Phil Jackson.
Oh, before Phil, I'm Pat Riley, brother. I'm back in the day. Phil Jackson was just, the latest in the line. But but yeah, I mean, I loved the Showtime era. But I also was a Rockets fan because I grew up in Houston at that time, and we had Twin Towers and Hakeem Olajuwon, and I almost got run over and then almost got beat up by Olin Polynice. I don't know if you remember that guy. He was a journeyman NBA player, but when I was in 8th grade, I was crossing the street and next thing you know, this humongous guy comes out yelling at me, and he's, African, and so I couldn't understand a word he was saying. And he thought I threw a rock at his BMW, and then he had some kind of like strength power lifter, but he was like a junior strength world power lifter guy with him. Like, why are you driving around like you a grown ass man with like some like 16 or 17-year-old boy? And then he's trying to sick this dude on me. And, but of course, again, as I've said many times on this program, I ran track in college for a reason. I was always pretty quick. And you weren't catching me on that day slipping. But yeah, I did not throw a rock. In case Mr. Polynice is out there, if that's how you say his name, I did not throw a rock at your car, nor would I. And And shame on you for trying to get this, you know, bubble-headed giant steroid-looking dude to beat up an eighth grader over your stupid car. If you're a big NBA star, you should be able to go buy another, not be all like over the one you got, your car. So whatever. I don't even think it was one of them 7 series. I think it was probably like a 3 series. So it wasn't even one of those big expensive BMWs. I don't know how his big ass got how you even fit in that little car. But that's again, that's back to my my childhood. So I obviously went through a lot. But so I guess I would just say to you, Daniel, is that you're talking about sports and you're talking about teams, but in my opinion, I feel like you're really taking a long look in the mirror at yourself.
Yeah.
And saying, who do I love? How do I love Daniel? How does Daniel want to be loved? How does Daniel want to be respected? How does Daniel want to be known as and known for? You have 2 young sons, 3 years old and 7 months. Eventually, and it won't be too far off from now, you're going to ask yourself, how do I want my sons to see me?
Right.
Do I want them to see me as this, and I'm not saying this is you, I'm just using an example, as this pushover guy that was bullied his whole life and still kind of hides in the shadows and is meek when he talks and or do I want to have my boys see me as a guy they could be proud of and a guy they can look up to and a guy that they could say, when just like your son now, when you guys go get your haircuts and you said, he wanted to get a daddy haircut. He wanted his haircut just like daddy. So I took him to my barber and he did. He got a haircut just like yours. He looked great. And, and that really got you fired up because your son wanted to be just like his dad. And that really meant something. So, I would really, like I tell anyone that, that comes to me or ask my opinion and ask the gospel according to Logan, which few people out there actually care about what I have to say, which I don't know why. I'm nothing special in that regard, but some people feel like I, give good counsel. So I would just say, Daniel, one thing I recommend, like for my son, my eldest son, between Heather and I have said to him for years, and he's an artist like yourself, and he's a meek, mild-mannered fellow, the nicest human being you could ever meet on this planet. Just doesn't have a malice bone in his body. He's a large human being. He's like almost 6'6" and 250. He's built like a defensive end, but he has a heart of a thespian. He's an artist. And and sometimes, especially artists in general, whether you hear about musicians or what was that artist that cut off his ear, and was that Van Gogh?
Van Gogh.
Is it Van Gogh? And just our artists suffer. They suffer a lot of times with depression and just they come into this world so creative and so genius in their creativity, but socially, emotionally, most of them just really have a hard time of it. So I tell my son, and I would tell you, and I tell others, every day I would every morning and every evening, if I were in your position, I would wake up every morning and I would look myself in the mirror and I would say, I'm Daniel and I love myself. Yeah. Every evening, at least 10 times in the mirror, every morning, every evening. And I would just fake it till I make it. I would just, because if you don't truly learn to love yourself and give yourself what I call a self hug, then if you don't really love yourself, the world will never love you the way that you feel you need to be loved. You see a lot of these artists, these pop stars that seem to have the world, by the tail, and so many of them, after a couple years in the business of being famous and superstars, they just look miserable And how many of them are you hearing about, you know, dying because of, uh, you know, drugs and just different things? And you're like, how can you be a bazillionaire and have this life and be this person and be so adored, but you hate yourself? You know, I saw a little thing on Britney Spears the other day, and they were trying to be like, well, hey, if Britney Spears ends up dead, this is how they're, you know, Hollywood's trying to sacrifice her in this. And, you know, she was making the most money she was ever making is when she was in that under the control of, you know, her father and that little cabal of people that, you know,
Yeah.
what do they call the conservativeship, I think, something of that nature. And now that she's out of under their control, she's not making the money she was making then. It was just, you know, and she went crazy and shaved her head, and now they caught her driving erratically, supposedly maybe driving drunk in Hollywood, and you know, and they're just trying to. And her ex-husband Kevin Federline has come out with this book, you know, saying this, that, and the other, and they're trying to position if something happens to her, we're gonna all be like, Britney went crazy. Why is Britney so crazy? You know, why isn't, you know, at one time thought of the most desirable and beautiful woman, one of the most desirable and beautiful women on the planet, if still not now, and you know, for a certain age group, you know, why is she going crazy? And I would just say to you, Daniel, and I would say to anybody, your wife won't love you as much as you feel she should love you. Your kids will never love you as much as you feel they should love you. Your job will never love you and be as satisfying as you wish it would be. Your friendships and the community in which you live and serve, and your religious, you know, probably your relationship even with your heavenly Father, and everything will never feel the way you truly want it to feel and be until you learn to truly love yourself. What you were talking about the other day was sports teams, but what you were really talking about the other day was unconditional and unmitigated and undying love. You have loved your sports teams there in Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
When nothing else was loving you back, you found faith in those sports teams there in your Michigan sports teams, University of Michigan, all the Detroit Red Wings and the Lions and the what are
Tigers.
they got? Tigers, and then they have what's the
Pistons.
The hockey team?
Oh, hockey team? That's Red Wings.
The Red Wings, yeah.
Sorry, my son is playing with my car keys and my alarms are going off.
Okay, well, go get the boy and get your car keys. Yeah, so for Shit Talking Army, I don't know who needs to hear this. I mean, I was just actually right before we came on, I was actually picking up my daughter at high school, and I was getting text messages from a dear family friend that is going through it right now in their marriage, and one spouse has been caught stepping out on the other, and the other spouse is trying to find love and peace and regain something for their spouse and trying to work through this, and they're self-medicating, in my opinion, with the internet instead of getting, you know, therapy through a professional therapist. But you know, I told them, like I just told Daniel, until you learn to truly love and respect yourself, the answers that you seek are going to be hard pressed and hard coming, you know. And once that you learn to truly love yourself and respect yourself, people on the outside world or situations you find yourself in, they won't be nearly as bleak, because you, at the end of the day, not from a narcissistic point of view, but from just a purely, I got this because I'm not going to let myself down point of view. I'm not going to let, you know, my kids down point of view. Hey, beautiful. How you doing? Good to see you again. The true star of the show just showed up. Daniel's little 7-month-old, Mr. Peter Man. What's up, Peter?
Hey, bud.
Hey, big eyes. Yeah, I'm talking to you. So one thing I always do tell folks too, especially if it's talk, and one thing I said to this individual is that if one of your kids came to you and said, hey mom, hey dad, whomever, this is the situation I'm going through, what would be the advice you would give them? And Daniel, I don't know your relationship with your parents. Both of them are still alive, right? I know your mom lives near you, but your dad's still alive, isn't he?
Yeah, he still lives in Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, maybe I would recommend giving them a call and just saying to them, now that you're a parent, you got 2 boys yourself, you have hopes and dreams for your sons, maybe you should call your mom and dad and say, hey, mom and dad, why didn't you help me more with my outlook and my view on myself? And maybe they did. I don't know. I mean, I guess you can answer that question, but I would just say to you, Daniel, if Peter or Nick comes to you and says, hey, I'm struggling in this area, or it's affected me in my business life because of this in these areas, or in my marriage, or in my interpersonal relationships or friendships, what advice would you give them?
Okay.
And maybe your folks can, and you could say, if the way I am is I would go back to the source and I would say, hey, mom and dad, I know you were probably dealing with your own but I got kind of left out here in the cold, and this is how it affected me. What was going on in your life at that time that had you so hemmed up that, I don't know your brother's name, but I know it was you 2 boys, that I got affected like this. How did you put me in these? I know you put me in these church schools, this one specifically, because you thought it would be the best education and all that. But what took so long? I went from first grade or preschool in this environment all the way till my sophomore year in high school, where I finally went to a public school, and it was a house of horrors for me. And I'm sure I came home and said to you, mom, dad, this sucks. I don't like this place. I don't want to go to school tomorrow. Why not? Because they're mean to me. Why didn't you listen? Why didn't you do something about it? Why didn't you protect me? Why did I have to stay within this organization and bounce back between their different sister schools? Why didn't you protect me? And why as a 33-year-old man am I still finding myself trying to find coping mechanisms to get the unconditional love and know how to not only get it, but to accept it within myself, and, and not walk around like a turtle just hoping that no one notices, because if they notice me, they might be mean to me. I mean, and of course, I know our show was going to be about something else down, but and again, this is your story, Daniel. So I'm not trying to, again, sit on here like I have all the answers, because I don't. Especially being a parent, I have 4 kids, and unfortunately, when you just had that little boy 7 months ago, you had a nephew born on Saturday. When you take them and they walk you out to the car when you have your baby, and they make sure that you can put the car seat in right, and it's all strapped in good, and and all the rest. But they do all those things for you, but one thing they don't do anywhere at any hospital, anywhere in the world, anytime throughout history, is none of them hand you a handbook and say, here you go. If you follow these guidelines, that kid's going to turn out perfect. So, most of us parents are just trying to do the best as we can do as we go along. And hopefully we have good people in our lives and good counsel in our lives where, we can, if we're caught slipping, someone's there to be like, hey man, I've been there and I've done that, and this is what I did to get out of this situation, or even better yet, this is what I've done to, not get into this situation. So yeah. I don't know if you would have the courage to do that, Daniel, to call your folks and, kind of find out, how did you get to where you are? Yeah. Why don't I have the confidence in myself that I see others have? Why did I get, what is it about me that I've been bullied even after leaving that school situation, or in my life now, or whatever. I'm not saying you're being bullied now, but people run into situations, whether it be business wise or whatever, and sometimes you've sold yourself short, where you're given a price like this when it's really worth that. I don't know, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So
I do.
I know you called to tell everyone there in Michigan. You got on here today to tell everyone in Michigan, hey, I still love you guys too. I didn't mean to go down this rabbit hole, but just for me, I just personally feel this whole allegiance to sports teams is a bigger deal than just who do you root for on Saturdays and who do you root for on Sundays, or in baseball cases, I guess during the week too.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate it, Logan.
Well, that's the thing before, man. That's why we're here. And like I said, I don't have the answers. Lord knows, like I've said many times, my life ain't perfect. I sometimes wish I had a friend like me for me that could sit there and as the old saying goes, tell you when your slip is showing, and that just says, hey man, you look like you might have it together, but I see you're crying out for help just like the rest of us, and this is what you need to do to get yourself to the next rung of the ladder. So be kind. I would just tell all the shit talking army, like I've said many times before, each day when I drop my kid off, both of my kids this morning, one took the bus, but two I dropped off at school. Before they got out of the car, I said one thing: go make a difference in someone's life today. And shit talking army, I would just put that out to you every day. Every day, seek out someone, at least one person, that you can make a difference in their life today. And it could just be something as simple as a hello and a smile. It could be like, hey, I need your lawn mow. I see you haven't mowed your lawn, and maybe you're got an elderly person living next door that it's not as easy for them to take care of their yard. If you're mowing your yard, mow theirs too. I do that sometimes with my neighbors, and they do that for me. And especially pretty soon, winter will be here. If I'm shoveling my sidewalk, I'll shovel theirs. And hey, they both got snow blowers. So I'm always like, hopefully they'll bring their snowblower over and blow mine too. So you just never know what little bit of kindness or a little bit of recognition will go a long way. And Daniel, I would just say to you and anyone that maybe is coming from the background that you're coming from, have the courage in your life to face your demons of, I call them the ghost of Christmas past from the movie Scrooge, to face those demons, to face the demons that are presently in your life that are maybe able to be there because of your demons of your past. And then, have the courage to say, this is what I want my life to be going forward. And I'm going to be unapologetic in my pursuit of that. And if there's people in your life that do not see that vision or that mission, then they either get on board or they step off the train altogether. Have the courage to love yourself enough, and respect yourself enough that you're going to go into your spirit and make those changes as those changes need to be made. But I got to brother. I got a doctor's appointment. I got to take my kid to. Always injured at football time, so football season's over, and we got to go figure out about the bumps and the bruises and make sure he didn't. He's got a little issue, so. I think we got cut off.
We got cut off. Here we go. We're here back. But yeah, no, I really appreciate it.
I lost you. I can hear you, but can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, my things are ringing. But, all right, well, I got to get out of here. So thank you, bro. And I do wish you the best on this journey. I look forward to seeing where what happens next, and we'll definitely talk about it. So for two dads talking please like, subscribe, comment. If there's someone in your life that are facing similar challenges that we've talked about on some of our shows, please feel free just to put a comment. Tell us what you've done to overcome these challenges and get your life together, and or others that you may know. So please like, subscribe. If you would like to email us, you can do so. Where, Daniel?
2dadstalkingshit@gmail.com.
Two dads talking shit at gmail.com. In the meantime, from Daniel, Peter, and Logan, we are out.